Hey everyone, this is Dr. Casey Johnson. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I know you're going to love today's episode with Dahlia and James Marin. Dahlia and James are doing some amazing work, so I'm excited to have them on to share their story with you guys. If you've been loving the Unlock Wellness podcast, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. Also, be sure to follow me on social media to keep up with the latest podcast episodes. The best way to connect with me is on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. My username across the board is at Dr. Casey Johnson. That's DrKaseyJohNson. You can also check out my website at drcaseyjohnson.com. It has all of the past podcast episodes and more information about each guest under the Listen tab. While you're on my site, be sure to check out the Shop tab, where you can check out my first book of my Healthy Children's Book series and learn about the Unlock Wellness Project, which supplies a wellness bag to a child in need for each book purchased. Thank you again for listening. I hope this episode leaves you feeling inspired to start making positive changes to your health. Now it's time for today's episode. I hope you love my conversation with Dahlia and James Marin. Welcome to the Unlock Wellness Podcast. I'm Dr. Casey and excited for today's guest. I'm here with Dahlia and James Marin. And I was connected to Dahlia and James by Dr. Angie Sadeghi, and she is amazing. So be sure to go back and check out her podcast episode as well. But Dahlia and James are both plant-based dietitians who are dedicated to transforming the lives of as many families as possible. And they provide so much knowledge when it comes to raising a healthy vegan family. So I'm extremely excited to have them on to share their stories and everything that they've been working on. So Dahlia and James, thank you so much for taking time to come on. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun. So guys, I want to start off first by having you both talk about your backstories, what your wellness journey has looked like for the both of you and how it's evolved to where it is right now. So whoever wants to go first can go for it.
Yeah. So
Ladies first.
I'll start. So my wellness journey was really as me as the patient, first and foremost. So early on, I was a very overweight, obese child. I would go in for my yearly checkups with my doctor and always was just told from about 8 years old and on, you need to lose weight, you need to lose weight, you need to lose weight. I was kind of shamed every year. I dreaded going to the doctor. I was on your average standard American diet. Very much fast food and other processed foods were a part of my daily life. And it wasn't until I was about 17 years old, I went into the doctor and I was having trouble hearing. I was having issues. And so he referred me to an ear, nose, and throat doctor to have it checked out. I was not even in this doctor's office for 5 minutes when he pointed out that I had a large goiter or a large lump on my neck. So he asked, do you have a family history of hypothyroidism? I said, yes. So he referred me immediately to an endocrinologist. And that brought me to, in one day, being simultaneously diagnosed with an autoimmune hypothyroid condition. My weight, my excessive weight due to poor lifestyle choices had caused me to have polycystic ovarian syndrome because I was overproducing estrogen and other hormones. I was also diagnosed with prediabetes, and I was given 2 different prescriptions and was just kind of told, here you go.
Wow.
Deal with it as best as you can. You're going to be taking these medications for the rest of your life. And it just really slapped me in the face that day, I would say. As a teenager, I had the rest of my life to look forward to. And this kind of, for me, was a death sentence. I was aware that I had been making poor lifestyle choices and that making a change would be something in my benefit. But it wasn't until that moment where things just all fell into place for me and it clicked. So this was about the time that I was starting college. I kind of started to think about eating a little bit healthier. I said, okay, my New Year's resolution is I won't eat fast food. I started that small. So for that whole year, I didn't eat fast food. I started out college as a psych major, didn't love it, but kind of went through my first 2 years of my general ed and psych and was just looking for something else. So I took a nutrition class one summer just out of curiosity and really fell in love with it. I was really inspired, and at that point had been progressing in my own health journey and kind of ran with it. So I decided to switch my major to nutrition and dietetics. By that point, I had already been off of one of the medications for prediabetes, and just from eating a little bit healthier, not even much healthier, had been able to control that. And then from there, just kept up my appetite for knowledge for nutrition. So I dove deep into it, and several years later, learned about the benefits of a whole food plant-based diet. Started off slow though. We removed kind of thing by thing, and then here I am, about 15 years later. And I can say I have gotten off the medication for the polycystic ovarian syndrome. I've gotten off of anything to control my blood sugar. I'm taking a fraction, 10% of the medication that I used to take for my hypothyroid autoimmune condition, and I'm thriving. I also had a really healthy pregnancy. So I can say I was my very own first patient and have felt the benefits firsthand.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, the pregnancy was 100% vegan then, right?
It was. So we had
awesome.
been vegan probably for a year and a half, 2 years before I got pregnant. And about 2-3 years before I got pregnant. So I had that good while to detox all the animal products from my system.
And it's so funny because we did kind of want that. We're like, we really need a detox before we even think about getting pregnant. And we just really wanted to be as healthy as possible going into a pregnancy. Yeah.
Whenever you guys first found just the plant-based diet, like, was it a documentary, or did you guys just, because you guys were diving into the research, you just came across it?
For me, early on in my teens, I had read a book. Oh my gosh, what was it? Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. And it was that book for me that really set me on this path early on.
Who wrote that book? Do you know right now?
Oh man, I'll try and look it up right now.
Does it have like a purple cover?
It has a purple cover.
Yeah, I think I have that book randomly. I'm gonna have to find it now.
Yeah, and I'm sure. It's not that good. Like looking back, that I'm sure the author isn't even a health professional. I don't know. And looking back, I'm sure he says things that I probably wouldn't agree with 100% now.
Right.
There were a lot of things that I was like, wow, it made so much sense. He had great facts and research behind it. Because early on, like for me, just kind of my backstory was I was a morbidly obese child. I lived on, sugary cereal, Pop-Tarts, and fast food. Early age, I was having joint pain. I was, just really sick all the time. Every single cold and flu season, you can bet on me that I would get it. And just really feeling, even in terms of anxiety and depression, that was kind of elevating. I was always on antibiotics. And at some point for me, I think it was that book that I mentioned that I was like, wow, food is power. Nutrition is really the root cause of illness, and it can be the root cause of just the success and really feeling healthy and thriving. So that's what really kind of changed it for me, and then kind of made me go to school and want to learn more, and really, gave me an appetite for this knowledge. So yeah.
No, I love that. And the fact that you guys both had to deal with being overweight as a kid and dealing with so many health issues like that at a young age, which no kid should have to go through. I'm sure that kind of fueled the work that you do now. And I'm sure it's very comforting knowing that because you've learned what you've learned, now your daughter doesn't have to go through those same struggles that you guys both had to.
Oh yeah. And that's so funny. That's something Dr. Angie says all the time. Like every time we're around her with our daughter Layla, and she's like, oh, Layla, you're so lucky. Like, I wish I was you growing up. And we feel the same way. Our daughter does not, I think so many people in our family and some of our friends, or just even like strangers we meet, think we almost borderline abuse our daughter in a way. There's that kind of stigma of like, oh, you're depriving her and you don't let her do this and that. And honestly, it couldn't be, she needs meat and eggs. And it's like, it couldn't be further from the truth. She has a great childhood. She eats everything, pizza and mac and cheese and lasagna, and we just healthified it. We really transformed these foods, and they still taste delicious, and she still gets to go to birthday parties and have her treats. But it's just a lot healthier.
A whole food plant-based version of all of these things. So
right.
she never feels like she's without. And then we always kind of take others' opinions with a grain of salt, not just because we're the qualified health professionals, but you kind of see that same person making those comments as the one with the largest medicine cabinet. So you're like, no, thanks. Thanks for your concern, but we're good.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. Yeah, I know. I see those kind of things as well. And I had a guest on once, and he has a young son as well. And he had a really good point. And he was just talking about how, like, you know, if somebody's criticizing, like, oh, you're not letting your kid live because he can't experience candy and this and that for reward. It's like, well, if that's the highlight of your kid's day, I'd reevaluate how the activities and things that you're doing with your family. Like, and I mean, it makes total sense, because that shouldn't be the highlight of anybody's day as a piece of candy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally. And it really, you know, for so many cultures and so many different people of different educational backgrounds, food is love, food is comfort. Yep. So I understand where they're coming from at a certain point, that, okay, you know, my mom and my great grandmother made this food. Of course it's great for us, but without realizing that now we know so much more about our bodies, about nutrition, and food is not what it used to be. So we are really confident and happy in our decision to raise her on a whole food plant-based diet.
And this really gets back to like two major points I'll say is one is it really helps us, and this is what we spend a lot of time on with families, like our patients who are moms and our patients who are kids, is helping them understand that, look, you know, food isn't there when you're sad, and food shouldn't be there when you're happy, and food shouldn't be there when you're depressed, and food shouldn't be there when you're bored. So it's really about like adjusting your relationship with food, and like, what are you using food for? Because really the primary use for food is nutrition, to keep your body healthy. Right. And so we really just kind of re-educate, reframe that. And then number two, a big point is the world around us, the food systems around us are completely man-made, and they're completely artificial. So none of this is really natural whatsoever. So here we are with a bad relationship with food in a completely artificial, you know, upside down world reality. And that's a recipe for skyrocketing obesity rates and diabetes and PCOS. And that's exactly what we're seeing, you know? So yeah, that's what we're really trying to educate on and help families with.
I love that. And you guys do have a platform that's called Married to Health. And, you know, if you guys are listening, go give them a follow. But so what kind of inspired that to start? Because I mean, you guys are doing amazing work with it and just putting so much information out there in classes and things like that. So, I mean, what made you want to start that in the first place?
Thank you. So Married to Health came about as really just a place for us to answer questions that we were getting from family, friends, and others who were picking our brains about nutrition. So we said, okay, why don't we compile our common questions and we'll write blogs on it and we'll share what we're eating. People were always curious, what are we eating? What are we doing? Where are we going?
Like it started as Facebook, just posting stuff all the time on Facebook.
And then we decided, okay, let's make a website. Let's make an Instagram out of it. And it's really, I would say we've really held true to that core value that we have for Married to Health. So Instagram is probably our largest platform that we use today. And we get great questions every single day. And we're really determined, okay, someone's asking us, what is a great prenatal vitamin if you're vegan? Let's post about that. Let's clear up any misconceptions. And let's post peer-reviewed research. So it's not just whatever Bob wrote on the internet that we're sharing. We're really combing through this great research and compiling these nice bite-sized pieces for people to break down.
No, I love that. What do you guys think is the, I guess the most common questions that families are asking? I'm sure, besides protein, probably, I'm sure that's a big one, but like, what are some of the common questions or kind of like myth busters that you guys have to put out there and just so they fully understand, like what are some of the common things you guys are seeing?
So we get, like you nailed it. So protein is one of the biggest questions that we get. We also get the question of, is it safe to be on a whole food plant-based diet? People are oftentimes overly concerned with what supplements they need on a whole food plant-based diet or even a vegan diet, because we know there's a huge difference between those two things. We oftentimes will then get questions because we post a lot about being eco-friendly and trying to reduce our environmental footprint. So people will ask us, what are we doing? What are we using? How are we reducing our footprint? So we've really taken a lot of that information and shared it not only through our platforms, but we've partnered with really cool partners and we're sharing it there.
Yeah. And I would add to that, B12 is always a big one. And it's always, I just had a mom who was like, my husband needs more information. If a vegan diet, why do you have to supplement with B12? And it's really just clearing up those misconceptions a lot of the time, as well as like, well, look, B12 doesn't come from animals. It comes from soil microbes. And there's a big difference. And there's a number of reasons why we're not getting exposure to really healthy soil microbes now in the year 2018. And so I would recommend everyone be on a B12 supplement, not just vegans. So it's really just kind of clearing that up. And I would say B12 is another big question. Yeah, everything surrounding B12.
And omega-3s.
Yeah.
If we can't eat fish, how can we get our omega-3s with the other population?
That's a good one. Bring up the fact that omega-3 is not made in fish. It's actually made in algae, which the fish eat. So that's, a big misconception as well.
Right. So just take out the middleman, right?
Right. Yeah. We're just kind of making it easier. Like, don't you guys want it to be easier? So that's what we try and do.
I love it. Have you guys been working with the school systems at all too? I know it's huge. You might be trying to make, a family might be trying to make a lot of changes at home, but then they send their kids to school. And if they don't pack a lunch, there's usually no vegan options, and school lunches are pretty awful. And I know probably some schools are trying to change and make it better, but for the most part, it's not very high standard.
Yeah, no, that's a dream of ours. I mean, I know early on in our rotations, we worked in school. That was part of our internship rotations. We worked in hospitals, we worked in food service, we worked in school districts, and it's extremely hard. And this really gets into it, depending on what type of schools, at a charter schools, at a private schools, at a public school. And in terms of the public school, which I feel a majority of kids in the United States are in, it really is a top-down approach for a lot of the root causes. So one of the big things is the Farm Bill. And so the Farm Bill is a piece of legislation which dictates what money goes to our crops and what money goes to educational programs like WIC or NEOP, which was formerly known as Champions for Change. And so, within our own federal government, with our own tax money, we are subsidizing sugar crops. We're subsidizing the feed to feed more livestock and have more processed meat and cheese. So our own tax dollars that are funding our educational systems are also funding the horrible food that we put into the educational system. So it's insane. So I always say the USDA is a schizophrenic person. On one side, it funds anti-obesity programs, and on the other hand, it's increasing obesity. So it's madness. But with that, there's always hope. There's always the grassroots movements. If enough parents and health professionals come together, you can make great change, and it can be a really amazing thing.
And we do educate our clients not only on, again, sending notes to the school district, requesting healthier lunch options, but packing a lunch as kind of an act of defiance, because what most people don't know is the schools make most of their money on the lunches, on the school lunch program. So they make quite a bit of money on being paid by our government for each kid that gets a school lunch. So they really want our kids to be eating at school, again, to profit off of it. So if your kids are packing their healthy lunch, they're not getting their lunch from school, this is a loss of a source of funding for school. So this would, again, be an act of kind of defiance.
It makes them kind of rethink the lunch, a little bit like, wow, no kids are eating lunch. Let's change it. Let's do something different. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that. And I mean, and with resources like what you guys are doing, you guys make it easy to make doable meals, doable lunches for kids, because it doesn't have to be super complicated, but can still be really good. So some of the, on your Instagram page, for example, you guys put out a lot of really amazing information. I saw where you guys do shopping tours. So you guys want to talk about just the different kind of services that you guys put out there?
Yeah, so we'll kind of back up and say, yeah, both Dahlia and I are holistic registered dietitians. We specialize in plant-based nutrition as well as functional nutrition. And with Married to Health, that's kind of our private nutrition consulting business. And we work with Dr. Angie. We work with Mother's Market. We work with Raise Vegan, which is the biggest vegan magazine as well. And then we work for parents, and then we work with many other groups in our community. And we do one-on-one, we do group education in the form of presentations. Also, our one-on-one visits can be in person or online. So we see people from the UK, Brazil, all over the world. And then, some of our group visits include grocery store tours or cooking demos, where it's like, Dahlia was just doing, where a group of moms got together, they all pitched in a fairly decent amount of money, and it was, a really great cooking demo where Dahlia taught them to make vegan cheese and mozzarella.
That's awesome.
And it was great. So yeah, I mean, it's little things like that, but then it's also grocery store tours that we do at Mother's Market, where we're showing you how to shop, we're showing you the little tips and tricks, we're showing you how to read labels, we're educating and answering questions the whole time. So we take a little tour around the store. So yeah, we do a little bit of everything almost, that if it revolves around food, we do it.
And I love especially doing grocery store tours, because that's where nutrition starts. That's where the biggest decisions are made. I have so many patients who come to me and they're like, I'm tired of eating the same thing over and over. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let's go to the grocery store. Please let me show you these amazing and sometimes very convenient whole food plant-based options. The market is definitely changing and more options are now available, but absolutely love doing grocery store tours, not just for products like that, but just fruits and veggies. It's amazing how much you can teach someone about regular veggies that they might have never ventured out to try, like collard greens, and how to select the freshest produce when you're at the grocery store, how to pick the juiciest, sweetest fruits. But just educating on those foundational basics is so, so enriching for me. And then I feel like they get so much more out of it than just sitting with me either face-to-face on computer or at my desk. I can talk all I want about food, but I think really getting in there, showing them, and then if, they're open to it, if they request it, cooking with them and showing them really easy, healthy, quick basics, because, the easier you make it, the more they're going to do it.
Right. Kind of coined that term, healthy eating daily, where it's a mixture of not only just cooking from scratch, but canned food, frozen food, and leftovers from eating out at healthy places. So we show you kind of how a plant-based diet can fit any lifestyle, whether you're working 60 hours a week or you're traveling a lot, it can definitely work for anyone.
Yeah. I love to use a hashtag healthy lazy.
No, I love that. I mean, because it really does take the pressure off if, like you said, like somebody can sit there and listen to you or a class, but once you jump off the class, it's so much information. People kind of get in this like, oh, there's so much, I don't know where to start. But if you can walk somebody through and be like, oh, this is good. Like it takes a lot of pressure off and it makes it just more doable. And I think like you were talking about doing the labels and how to read them, that's huge, because most people, that blows their mind once they stop looking at, oh, this has this much calories and fat, but look at the ingredients, it's like straight. It's like mind is blown.
Mind is blown, because we've really been conditioned to focus on those things, I would say almost as a distraction from what's actually in our food.
It's like 0 calories, but it's like made with like Windex. I mean, I don't know.
Don't worry, you'll get diarrhea and acne, but it has 0 calories.
Yeah, exactly. It's so crazy. And that's one of the ones, like when I have a diabetic patient, and one of the first things I tell them is, first off, sugar and carbohydrates do not cause your diabetes. And they go, like their eyes get huge, like, wait, what? And then I finish and I go, processed sugar, processed carbohydrates can cause diabetes or can be a factor in diabetes. And they go, oh, okay. And then we educate on that. But it's a stigma, where it's like, it has to be 0 carb, 0 calorie, or
fruit is bad.
Fruit is bad.
Yeah.
It's been taken so much out of context that it's really giving them back that context as easy as possible. Yeah,
definitely. I love that. And Dr. Angie, she gave me a question request when I talked to her. She told me that You guys are super passionate about talking about organic versus non-organic food. So I have to ask because I want to know your knowledge on that.
Yeah. So yeah, with organic, I mean, it's, where do I start? But, with organic, the number one thing, especially when you're talking about diseases like PCOS, diabetes, obesity. So all of these things, right? You're talking about the endocrine system. You're talking about the thyroid. You're talking about the pancreas. You're talking about the ovaries, and you're talking about body fat. A lot of people don't realize that body fat is part of your endocrine system. Your body fat produces hormones. The more body fat you have, the more of hormones you produce, especially estrogen. So, in that context, you talk about diseases like diabetes, PCOS, or hypothyroid, and pesticides are a huge factor in that. Pesticides are endocrine disruptors. Pesticides disrupt your microbiome and can cause a whole cascade of issues that affect you and your family. Because again, it's not just the mom who's eating pesticides. If she's pregnant or breastfeeding or has kids,
right,
the whole family is being exposed to these pesticides. So when it comes to organic, there's really no question that you're being exposed to a huge amount less, whether it's zero or less. But it's an unfortunate reality that we are being exposed to pesticides because we just use so much of it. It's in our groundwater. It's been found in rain. It's been found in cord blood for unborn children. It's been found in breast milk. So it's insane. This is something we definitely educate on. And for anyone suffering with any chronic disease, going organic is a huge first step. Even if you're still eating animal products, a good step in the right direction is doing organic. So certified organic animal products is still a great step in the right direction.
Because just like we talked about animals being the middleman for concentrating B12 or omega-3, whatever it is, they also are really efficient in concentrating pesticides and other toxins. So when we consume their fat, again, that's part of their endocrine system. We're consuming all those byproducts that they've really efficiently concentrated. Mm-hmm. So that can be a huge help.
And this is all animals, land and sea. So this is including fish, this is including land animals. And this category of pollutants are persistent organic pollutants. These are pollutants that persist in the environment, that bioaccumulate in the animals. And what a lot of people don't realize is pesticides, we think, it kills weeds, right? So pesticide is this generalization for herbicides, rodenticides, fungicides, and we put them under pesticides. But a lot of times we're using heavy metals, we're using dioxins, we're using plastic byproducts to make the pesticides. And it's just this crazy concoction of just pure toxic mush that we said, let's just spray this all over our food that we eat. And somehow we thought that was a good idea. And so it is insane. And again, it's so nice to see the glyphosate and Roundup being in the evening news, even though for how long have we been talking about this? For almost 10 years,
right,
we've been talking about this. It's so nice to see it kind of more mainstream. And I remember us being in college and we were collecting signatures for the Prop 37 here in California, where we're going to label genetically modified ingredients. And this was a while back, and it didn't go through because at the time Monsanto spent millions and millions of dollars against it. But it's just so nice to see, because we really missed the mark in terms of thinking that these pesticides are safe, thinking that these pesticides are well regulated when they're really, really not. And even the whole basis of a lot of these pesticides are based on, they don't affect the human body. And one in particular is a pesticide, again, glyphosate. And that affects the shikimate pathway that is not found in humans. Okay, that makes sense. Great. It's not going to affect us whatsoever. Oh, by the way, the shikimate pathway is in all the microbes and bugs that colonize our gut. So we're talking about trillions and trillions of these beneficial microbes that are in our gut. So the glyphosate doesn't affect our body, but it affects all these microbes that we depend on for our health. And so this is why you're seeing so many gut issues, right? Everything from reflux to gastritis to colitis to, I mean, you name it. It's insane. And I really, really think pesticides have a lot to do with it. And going organic is very, very important.
And we often get the question, what if I don't have organic available to me? Should I just not eat the fruits and vegetables? So we always say, still eat your fruits and vegetables, but we might recommend a product that will help kind of bind and eliminate the pesticides. And then understanding that your vote is powerful. And what do we vote most powerfully with is our wallet. So we always say, buy organic when it's available. Again, stores and businesses operate on that supply and demand. So if we're demanding more organics, which research is showing and purchasing trends are showing, we are demanding more of it. Costco is the world's now largest retailer of organics. Costco is now paying farmers to go organic. So we're seeing an incredible shift. And again, that was all ignited by us voting with our dollars, a grassroots movement.
Totally.
Absolutely. That's super interesting. And like, based on that, what is your guys' opinion on when you see something like, if somebody's trying to, if they're shopping like on a budget and maybe they want to get some organic, some are not, you guys know where I'm going with this, right? They're like dirty dozen, clean 15, where certain foods have higher numbers of pesticides than others. Do you think that's valid, or what is your opinion on that?
Absolutely. So the Environmental Working Group, a nonprofit agency, puts out this every single year. They put out a new list of dirty dozen and clean 15 because soil changes every year. We are now finding, though, that does not account for glyphosate, which is the most predominantly used pesticide. So I've created my own list of dirty dozen and clean 13.
Love it.
Because a couple of the ones that were on the clean 15 are high in glyphosate. But yeah, usually the ones that you're going to find on the dirty dozen are the ones that are sweeter tasting. So that's going to naturally attract bugs more. Bugs want to eat those fruits and vegetables. You're also going to find on the dirty dozen the fruits and vegetables that have a lot of ridges, pits, and seeds. So a strawberry, for example, is covered in seeds. So it has several little pits. If you're not purchasing organic and it's been sprayed, it's going to be a lot more difficult to rid the pesticides from that. So those are going to be the ones that you're predominantly going to find on the dirty dozen, where on the clean 15, or for me, clean 13, it's going to be usually the veggies that are more bitter. So on there, you find onions, you find asparagus and broccoli and Brussels sprouts. Those ones just don't attract as many bugs. They aren't wanting to eat those as much as the other sweeter foods. And you're also going to find things that have thick skins, ones that you're not going to eat. So bananas, pineapples, avocados, those are found on that clean 15. So absolutely, like I said, you still want to eat the veggies. So if you're at the very least following that guide, that's a really surefire way to keep on budget and reduce your exposure. And another tip we really like giving is buy organic food that's frozen. So organic fruits and veggies that are frozen are oftentimes very economical and highly nutritious. So depending on the store that you purchase from also, it depends. Some stores don't carry produce that's as fresh as others. But when fruits and veggies are picked, they're oftentimes almost always flash frozen on the farm. So you're retaining a lot of the nutrients in there. And again, because they're frozen, they're just more economical.
And I have to add to that too is a recent study where a person who is diagnosed with type 2 diabetes at the age of 40 is likely to spend over $200,000 more on their medical expenses than someone who is not diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So this is where, if you're looking to save money, this is where that saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, because if you move toward that prevention of investing that time and money in cooking and doing organic, it's going to pay off. I mean, it's going to pay off huge later on in life. I mean, whether you value your time in terms of waiting in the doctor's office, or the sick days missed from work, or you're too sick to be with your kids and family and you're missing out, it doesn't even account for that invaluable time, with your family and with your friends, but you're definitely going to save money. I mean, even though it seems like you're spending a little bit more money. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I love that. And Dahlia, you had mentioned a way to clean them, like vegetables and fruits regardless. Is there a certain type product that you guys recommend for people who are wanting to clean them to the best ability that they can?
So in regards to cleaning your fruits and vegetables, I recently did quite a bit of research on this actually. So studies have shown, and these are peer-reviewed studies, that one of the most effective ways to clean your fruits and vegetables is just by using a baking soda and water solution. So for 6 cups of water, 1 tablespoon of baking soda, if you let your fruits and vegetables soak in there for 15 or more minutes, it reduces the pesticides by 70%.
Wow.
So
Huge.
what many of us don't know is if you're shopping at a conventional grocery store, by the time it comes into your house, an average of 30 different hands have touched that food, whether that is farmers, producers, packagers, consumers. People are looking at it, sneezing on it. Lord only knows what.
Everybody eat up.
Yeah. And we tend to really only rinse our produce, which is odd because we never just rinse our hands after going to the bathroom or just rinse our plates. But using the baking soda can actually really, really reduce the amount of pesticides that are found on your produce.
That's
and
amazing.
then, like I said, if you have consumed something that has been produced with pesticides or in a conventional way, there are different products that are out there that can help kind of bind them and excrete them from your body.
No, that is super helpful. I'm definitely going to start applying that myself because I haven't been doing that as much. And hearing about how many hands just touched my veggies just grossed me out. So I'm definitely going to take that into account. I think somebody was telling me there was like a documentary that really goes into that, like just the whole process of from farm to grocery store. Have you guys seen that or know which one I'm talking about? Because it seems super interesting.
I wonder.
There's a couple that are coming
Our
to
Daily
mind.
Bread. There's
Food Aid talks about our food system. That one's older.
I just watched one too. That was really good.
Sure. I'll try to figure it out. I'll let you guys know which one it is once I figure out which one it is. But it was more on like the process of like the delivery process, like you guys were talking about, like how many people are handling it and how we assume it's clean, but it's been through a lot before it gets to where it's going. So it is super interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, a lot of people don't really think about food and especially growing food, but then on top of that, handling food and where it's been, and especially if it's coming from different countries like South America or China. So it's really about reconnecting with our food on every level and just being more conscious, being more aware. And it starts small. We always give the analogy, like everyone's climbing their health mountain. You don't start climbing a mountain at the top. Okay, you start at the bottom and you do it at your own pace. And we're just kind of the people here to be like, here's some great gear, here's some great supplies, and we could be your guide. And here's a really good path. But our patients are always doing the climbing. No one's going to do the climbing for you, but at least you can do it at your own pace.
And you can decide how many tools you want to use at the same time. Because again, it can be overwhelming. You go to Home Depot, you're not going to get every single tool and know how to use it. But, we're there to educate on which ones are most appropriate in the very beginning and along the progression.
Definitely. Well, you guys are doing an amazing job. And, is there anything you guys are working on for the future that you just want to put out there and share with people to be looking out for?
Yeah, I mean, definitely follow. Well, right now we're working with Raised Vegan, and then we're also working with Dr. Angie. So make sure you subscribe to Dr. Angie's newsletter. You can subscribe to our newsletter as well. We're going to be putting out a great gut healing module.
With Dr. Angie.
With Dr. Angie. So it's going to be, amazing. So if you have anything from heartburn to SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, we're going to help you. We're going to give you a just really easy, efficient, hands-on way to just help you. And then I work right now with Raised Vegan. We have a really great group on Facebook, which is Vegan Pregnancy and Parenting. You can join that group for free. And then in that group, we have a subgroup that you pay for, but you get tons of great information. We're doing video modules on everything from breastfeeding to picky eating to we're going to get into macros, we're going to get into the environment, and then we are there to answer your questions, give you recipes.
And there are 18 weeks of knowledge modules, 18 weeks of meal plans, 18 weeks of just constant access to not only us, but others in the group and seeing what their questions are and where to go from there. So we're trying to spread the word as much as we can. And then we also partner with Mother's Market. So we're here in Southern California in Orange County, and we are so grateful and fortunate to have Mother's Market. And we've been shopping at Mother's for such a long time. So for us, it's been kind of a dream to partner with a store that has similar values in mind. So they do practice sustainable purchasing and procurement, they have so many specialty plant-based products, and they put out education, and they have different health professionals educating. So we're really grateful to be partnering with mothers and doing a lot on social media and doing a lot in stores. And
we're going to be doing lots of seminars, grocery store tours. We're going to be doing in-store nutrition sessions. And they're really the company that really started a grocery store for vegetarians and vegans. That's on awesome. Top of that, they work with Beyond Pesticides, and they're really up to date on, being against pesticide, really helping with the non-GMO and organic movement. I mean, their tags in the store, it says organic and it says where the produce is from. I mean, they're phenomenal.
Is that just a local store, or is it like a franchise?
They're in LA County and Orange County. Okay. In California. So yeah, they are local to California, but
they're trying to reach a larger population. So their social media is really picking up. They're really starting to write amazing blogs and put out great, interesting content to be accessed worldwide.
No, that's amazing. I love that. And guys, what is the best way for people to follow you guys on social media? That way they can keep up when you do have events coming up, or if you have things that you want people to check out. What is the best way for people to follow you guys?
So I'd say the best way, visit marriedtohealth.com, and that'll have all of our social media. You can subscribe to our newsletter, which you'll get updates on our events. And then I'd probably say we're most active on Instagram. So that's at Married to Health on Instagram. And it's just like it's spelled, Married to Health. So that's TO. Not number 2. And then, so Instagram, we're always doing stories on there. We're always posting great content. And that would be great. We
post what we eat, what Layla eats, what we buy, where we buy it, and education.
We have a hashtag lunch with Layla. So if you follow that hashtag, you'll see everything our daughter eats pretty much and get great ideas and that inspiration. Or you and your family to go vegan.
Too.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. No, guys, they're doing an amazing job. So please go give them a follow. I'll put the links in the show notes. That way people can just go click and give you guys an ad. And so closing question that I ask every guest, and you guys can either answer together or separately, however you want to. But for a closing question, if you could give the audience one piece of advice, maybe it's something that's been your biggest takeaway on your wellness journey so far, but if you only had one piece of advice to give, what would it be?
Maybe we'll go separate because we have different minds, but when we come together, it forms one hive mind of sorts. But I would say for me, a lot of times with veganism or, whole food plant-based, it's people always think we're taking away. We're going to take away. What I start with my patients is really adding. I'm always saying, if you love spinach, add more spinach. If you love bell peppers, add more bell peppers. So really an easy thing you can do is just add more plant foods, whether it's vegetables, fruit, nuts and seeds, beans, peas, and lentils. Any type of plant food is great. And if you just add more, that's going to be huge. And it's an easy step you can take.
And I, on the other hand, while I agree with James's sentiment and that's a great step for people, I really try to encourage my patients, clients, anyone to change their mindset and how they look at food. I really think that we can, and we've kind of come up with this catchphrase, heal with each meal. I really encourage my clients to look beyond just food as something quick to fill your belly, as comfort, as whatever they're using food, such a legal drug as, but I really encourage them to look at food as medicine and really understand, how is this affecting me? Because even for some people, very healthy things can affect their health. So really thinking, how are you healing today?
Love it. No, you guys are both amazing. I really love the work that you're doing. I think it's extremely helpful and it's going to change so many families' lives. So just thank you guys for all that you do. And just thank you so much for taking time to come on. I loved having you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. And we so appreciate everything that you're putting out too. We look forward to collaborating again in the future.
Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you loved my conversation with Dahlia and James. They're doing so much positive work, so be sure to go give them a follow on social media to keep up with everything that they've been working on. You can find the social media links that we talked about in the episode in the show notes, but you can also find them on my website as well at drkaseyjohnson.com. That's drkaseyjohnson.com. Click on the Listen tab Then from there, you'll be able to see all of the past guests that have come on the Unlock Wellness podcast, read a little bit about each guest, and be able to click on their social media links, websites, all of that. So all of Dahlia and James's information can be found on my site as well. If you guys loved today's episode with Dahlia and James, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. Also, be sure to check out patreon.com/Dr. Casey Johnson to learn more about how you can support the Unlock Wellness podcast. Thank you guys so much again for tuning into today's episode. I hope you loved it. I hope it inspires you. And most importantly, I hope you take action.